Remember that we mentioned the step-by-step procedure in how to remember things and establish points of reference in on the right brain hemisphere that have been impressed previously in the left one, meaning transfer your experiences of things that you have seen to the right brain hemisphere. Once we have done this, then we move one step further. We say, for instance, we start going into things that you've never done before. So we start creating new ideas. For instance, we mentioned for you to be standing in the center of your living room, facing the south wall. And then we say, you have been here before. You know what furniture is in front of you, even with your eyes closed. Or if you're standing here at night with the lights turned off. Because you have been here before, you know what items, pieces of furniture are in front of you, to your left, to your right, in back of you, and so on. Now, we say, imagine walking towards the south wall. You want to touch the south wall with your hand. You see, now we are adding something that maybe this person never has done before. The person maybe never walked toward the south wall to touch the south wall. And we say, extend your arm, your right hand, and place your palm on the south wall. Touch the wall. We're doing it mentally. Well, he didn't have this point of reference with the left brain hemisphere. So we're establishing new points of reference now, which means using our imagination, because if you have not done it before, you're not going over past experiences, you're not recalling what you have seen or done, you're doing it for the first time in this dimension, you need to imagine it. That's imagination now, creating something or doing something here for the first time. Meaning doing something that you've never done even with the left brain hemisphere. So now the person is told to touch the wall. Get the feel of it. Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it cold? Is it warm or hot, whatever? Get some more of your senses involved. The sense of touch, for instance, now. Say. Use the sense of touch with imagination. And we say, whatever you imagine that it is like, this is what it is for you here in this dimension. It's an experience that you have already. Like, for instance, a child, the first time he touches a toy, that's his first experience. He now knows how it feels. He's done it before. Now, here we want to establish points of reference, and like, say, for instance, in the future, we've done it before. So we are accumulating experiences. We're making it easier and easier for us to function in this environment by doing more and more things that we've never done before. We had been using and doing it with the left one. Now we are doing it with the right one. See? So from here, we start developing imagination, meaning doing something for the first time that we've never done here before. So we have to imagine that we're going to do it. Now that means imagination then. Moving towards the south wall, he's never done it before. With the idea of placing his palm on the wall, he never had that idea before. It's something new for him. Once he does it, we get him to establish a good point of reference. An experience has taken place here. Feel the warmth, the coldness of the wall, or the smoothness or roughness of the wall, whatever. Then we expand a little more. We want to keep on doing more and more things that he's never done before, even with the left brain hemisphere. So let's say, for instance, imagine that you're getting closer and closer to the wall. You're about at arm's length. Now you are 1 foot away, 12 inches away. Now you're 3 inches away. Focus on the wall. You see the pores of the wood, you see, or brick if it's brick, or cement, whatever it is, concentrate on it. Establishing points of reference for the first time. He's never done this before. Now, go ahead and project yourself mentally inside the wall. He's never been inside his wall. I want to count from 1 to 3, and you're going to feel as though you're already inside the wall. 1, 2, 3, you're inside the wall. Imagine that you are. Use your imagination. Now, here inside the wall, this is the first time you have experienced this. Tell me, is there any sense of sight to be used here? Is there any light? Try and see if you can see anything. What do you imagine that you would see inside the wall. Whatever your imagination perceives at this dimension, this is what it would be for you in the future as an experience, point of reference. In other words, we're establishing points of reference with the imagination. This is the fundamental, basic points of reference. We're going to get more complex in the later exercises, so as to be able to find oil where there need to be looking for oil. Where's oil? How deep is it? What quantities are there? To find gold, for instance, we don't know where's the gold vein for finding gold. The mental dimension is an existing world like the physical dimension is. So we need to establish points of reference in each one of them. When you mention that the child touching the toy that is, and that later he touches it again, he knows what he's feeling, he can know what it is even with his eyes closed. Once he has a previous experience in touching it and how it felt, you see. He doesn't have to see it to know that it's a toy. He will, with his eyes closed, guess correctly it's the toy because he has a previous experience. So it's the same thing here. When you start establishing points of reference or initial points of reference, initial experiences, with as many things as we can think of. In the inanimate world, the most common things that we expect to do, what are our needs? In the vegetable kingdom, for instance, also, we say inanimate world, physics, animate, vegetable, animate, animal, animate, human. We want to establish points of reference in every one dimension, in one kingdom. The inanimate first, because the inanimate is the most difficult to detect because it contains no built-in intelligence. We have to use 100% of our intelligence to be able to project into the inanimate and to discover or classify or recognize or whatever we're supposed to be doing there. It doesn't help us at all. It's just sitting there. Now, when we talk about the vegetable kingdom has intelligence, reproductive intelligence, it says. A seed will grow into a tree, for instance. That's intelligence. What intelligence is there to cause the seed to grow and develop into a full tree, grown tree? So there's intelligence here. So it's easier to function in a dimension where there's some intelligence. There was no intelligence at all. So we start by establishing points of reference in the most difficult area first, and leave it for last, because in the order we're going to develop, we want to first experience the most difficult, then the slightly less difficult, then the slightly less difficult, until we get to the easiest. Then start practicing in the easiest, with the easiest thing, to develop our confidence that we can function within this dimension and accomplish something. Once we're satisfied that we are accomplishing something, then we move to another dimension that's more difficult, that contains less experience, and do it also there. And then likewise continue adding dimensions that contain less and less experience, which means they are more and more difficult until we can do it all. But we need to start where it's easy to develop our confidence. Once we do this, we move on to develop the full spectrum. But first of all, we must function in the inanimate world, the inanimate kingdom dimension, and establish as many points of reference as we can, like we did, projecting into the wall. Now we tell the individual, okay, now you're inside the wall. Imagine that you've never been here before, but now, using your sense of sight, do you detect any brilliance here, any light? If so, what intensity? And if so, what color? So now we start using the subjective sense of sight. See, we have subjective senses, like we have objective senses. The subjective is a fundamental, they call it the psychic sense, which is a mental sense. Now, all these subjective senses belong to the right brain hemisphere. The objective senses belong to the left one. They're extensions of the fundamental subjective, the ones that we use physically with the left brain hemisphere. So then we started to use the subjective sense of touch, the wall. Then the subjective sense of sight. What do you imagine that you can perceive light, for instance, with sense of light or sense of sight? Intensity and color. Then we say sense of smell. Is there a difference of smell inside this wall as compared to being outside? Use your imagination. whatever your imagination perceives, this is what it would be for you as a point of reference for the future, because you are experiencing that right now. So then, this is mental projection to a wall, for instance. Then the same thing is done to encourage the individual to use his sense of taste. Is there anything you can taste here? Try something. I mean, touch the wall, bring it to your lips, if you can detect any difference in taste. Smell, taste, sound. And now sound. What do we know about sound? Form a fist, imaginary fist, and knock on the inside wall. And see how the sound reflects to you. Is it very solid? Whatever your imagination perceives as a reflection from what you're doing is what you will use as a point of reference in the future with your mind, you see. So now we're working still with the imagination in the inanimate world, see. Now this is part of the mental gymnastics involved in the course. Now once we do all of this, starting to develop the use of our imagination at the 10th cycle dimension, using the right brain hemisphere, and so on, we move into other areas of inanimate matter, such as detection of metal, for instance. We will objectively bring into class pieces of metal. We say, well, stainless steel, copper, brass, lead, pieces of metal that the students become acquainted with, to touch them, to smell the different metals, smell the stainless steel, smell the copper. I mean, objectively, to establish initial points of reference in the world of the left brain hemisphere. Now, once a person has established the use of all his senses, how it feels, how it smells, how it tastes, whatever he wants to do, all his physical senses, with stainless steel, then does likewise with brass, then copper and lead, then we project into the mental dimension. Imagine that you're holding the piece of stainless steel in your hand. Imagine that you bring it closer to your face. Remember you did it before? Play back those points of reference. Review them mentally now with your left brain hemisphere, as you do with the left brain hemisphere. So what we're doing is, once we have established those experiences in the left brain hemisphere, we are transferring them over to the right brain hemisphere. These individuals, when at 20 cycles, made initial impressions. Now, at 10 cycles, they're taking those impressions and establishing them in the right brain hemisphere dimension. So they go right over the same thing again. You're feeling the piece of metal and so forth. You even touch your forehead with it, remember? Because this is what we tell them to do, touch your forehead with them. Now, how far more can you go from here? Physically, you cannot go any further than touching the piece of metal to your forehead. Now, mentally, we're going to project inside the stainless steel. Now, go ahead and tell us what kind of light or amount of light, color of light do you see here? Is there any light? Do you imagine that there would be? Whatever you imagine, that's what counts here. Establishing points of reference. The intensity of light, the color of light inside the stainless steel, the way it smells, the sounds when you knock on the inside with your bare knuckles and so on, all this impressed. So we're establishing points of reference, continue to establish points of reference in the inanimate matter kingdom that contains no intelligence. We do likewise, special exercises. There's more exercise to be done with the wall, with stainless steel, with copper, brass, and lead. Then we compare them. We want to see how do they appear in the physical to you, and how do they appear in the mental with the right brain hemisphere. You see, when we operate from the left brain hemisphere, when we say we mean consciousness, awareness. We're using the physical senses. When we operate, we again, consciousness, awareness, operate from the right brain hemisphere, we're using imagination, visualization, and imagination. The psychic or mental senses. Psychic means mental. Psychic development means mental development. And we all try to improve our mental abilities, our psychic abilities. And we can improve them a great deal by learning to use better not only the left brain hemisphere, but also to learn to use the right one. And this is the step-by-step procedure that we start using our imagination. So now once we get into imagination, there's no limit as to what you can do. A mental projection, we say you can project to any one point or place on this planet and find out what's going on. There's a need for it. See, this is the secret of this. If there's a need for it, it seems like we have been created to solve problems. If there's no problem, there's nothing to solve. If you're not aware that a problem exists, it's as though it does not exist. Even though if it does exist, only you are not aware that it does. You need to become aware of a problem, and to do so, there must be a problem. So we need, first of all, a problem. Then we need to become aware of it. Then we need to have an interest in solving it. Then all these faculties come into being for you to use them and to solve such a problem. We must have a desire to solve a problem. It's the most motivating force. And desire means projecting into the right direction. What direction is that? The right direction is where we're moving towards the problem to solve it. So we believe that we have been sent to the planet only for solving problems, not for anything else. That's first and foremost is problem solving. And that's what we're here for, to improve conditions on this planet. If we're not doing it, we're not functioning the way God intended then. Whatever we call God, remember this. Because God can mean so many things to so many people. God can mean a hierarchy of intelligence, meaning like an organization, like we have on this world. Why do we get organized? Local government, state government, federal government, it's an organization, a hierarchy of organizations. The lowest is the city, then county, then state, then federal, and so on. We suspect that in the invisible dimension, invisible world, there's more intelligence than here in the physical dimension. There's a hierarchy of intelligences to govern over the whole universe. So we say that sometimes we say God, we mean this hierarchy of intelligence. We don't mean the supreme that's at the top of the scale on this hierarchy of intelligence, like the general in case of government. We mean some along the way that has more intelligence than we, which is enough to solve our problems. If in the service, in the army, a lieutenant solves your problem, you need to bother going any higher. But if not, maybe a captain solves your problem, you don't need to go any higher. If not, maybe a colonel solves the problem, but you don't need to go any higher. Don't need to bother the general, the supreme intelligence of the universe, we say. If there are other intelligence entities connected to the hierarchy of intelligence that's higher than you want to touch or be connected only, or contact only, that one that's higher than you that has the solution to your problem. Why go any higher? So it's here again that we say God, that system, or whatever exists that contains intelligence that can help us solve problems. But first of all, we must learn to solve the problems ourselves, so we don't bother anybody else. We only bother higher-ups when we're not capable of solving problems, when we have tried our best, and that's when you qualify to get help, when you have tried your best. If you have not tried to solve problems, you don't qualify to ask for help yet. In other words, maybe you're a mechanic, and you work only with the mechanical things that contain no intelligence built in, inanimate matter. Well, if you have had enough points of reference in this dimension, it'll be a lot easier for you to find the problem with inanimate matter. You've heard that some people talk to plants, and these plants thrive on this. They blossom and bloom and whatever. Well, actually, it's not the talking to the plant. It's getting inside the plant so the plant would feel it, you see. So then when we talk about projecting mentally into the animate vegetable kingdom, we mean just that, to be able to know how to do this. And this is part of the training in our course also. We keep on going from one thing to another. Remember that we mentioned that first we want to establish enough points of reference in the inanimate matter kingdom just in case a person works with inanimate matter or within this dimension. Then plants, then animals, maybe you're a rancher, you have cattle or whatever, and you need to know how to improve all conditions. Animals, veterinarian, and then again with human beings, like doctors would.
Detect hidden information, influence people remotely, make better decisions, be more times right than wrong. Unlock your psychic powers with Jose Silva's Everyday ESP Master Course at booksellers worldwide in audio, ebook, print, and large print editions.